My whole life, the way I live, the way I garden, the food we eat, the way I arrange my studio, the way I arrange my house, my surroundings, to me are my art. I can get equally as much pleasure putting together a garden and seeing it come to fruition and seeing the colors and the textures and get totally obsessed about that. I grew up living among a community of artists. Our house was very artful. I mean, I'm not just saying it was chock full of art, but it was just the way that it was. There were always flowers, there was always good food, there were always handmade dishes to eat on. I was born in upstate New York in East Hornell, which is up near Alfred, New York. It's where my parents came over from Denmark, and my father, John Prip, a classically trained silversmith, went through the European system for 5 years with a really good Danish metalsmith. And he was brought over to teach the GIs after the war to Alfred University, which had a craft school. And that just opened his world to, wow, I've got all these skills. I can do anything, with them. And he taught at RISD for almost 20 years, really brought the RISD department up, literally. It had been in the basement and really expanded it. And it's funny, when I went off to school and I couldn't find a major, I thought it was really funny that I was in art school, and I was so frustrated because everything around me was really appealing. But I guess I didn't really think of metal because I'm a 5th generation in my family of metalworkers and silversmiths. So it was when I first started working with my hands and actually making 3-dimensional things that I went, it was that kind of moment of, this is what I've been missing. It was the process, I loved learning the different technical aspects of what went behind it. I just found it really exciting that there was all these possibilities within this area that I'd seen my father do, but I just didn't know that it was possible, that I could do it. So I had 2.5 years in the metal department at RISD under my father, actually, which was pretty cool. Scale-wise, it started out small. Jewelry size, because that was a way to make a living when I got out of school. The jewelry industry was still doing really well. And my brother and I had a small silver company, which we called Trillium, and we would do all the crafts fairs. That was the beginning of finally finding my way and realizing I really wasn't all that interested in jewelry. I was always thinking of the object and not really what it was doing to the body. It was more the form for me. So I finally just kind of broke out of that and said, this is what I want to do. I really haven't made any jewelry for 20 years. I work mainly in metal. But now it feels funny to say that because I'm working a lot with rocks and carving clay and wax and styrofoam and using found objects. But usually metal is the one base, but it's how it's used, whether it's fabricated or cast or electroformed. I'm just kind of all over the place. Such a range of techniques. And each aspect is a learning process. Your head can spin sometimes when you're trying to figure out what you want to do next. A lot of my work goes from being natural to humanistic. They're figurative, but they come from a source of looking like they could almost be morphic. They're part natural and part human form. I like things to have little surprises. When you look at the front, the back will be different. There are stones everywhere. In the house, in the gardens. I can't go anywhere without coming back with stones. They're a part of me. The first thing that attracts me to an object is just beauty. But it could be something rusted, it could be a beautiful shell. I find a seed pod, or I find a nice branch, or on the beach, it could be a piece of coral. I always feel it's like a really great day when I found something when I'm walking the dog on an old piece of pottery shard, or that beautiful old bottle part. And they come home and they kind of end up in piles, and then I kind of periodically go through them. Usually how I work with the smaller pieces, like the rocks or the little fabricated boxes. It could be that I have had a fossil around forever that just strikes me as being an eye, and I place it on the rock. I'll just be real direct and make a face out of it. I don't feel that there has to be anything precious about it. It could be that I cast something to go with it, and you start taking bits and pieces, or you go to your drawer with all your little gems or pottery shards, and I'll start taking them out and moving them around, and they stay out for a while. And it's a lot of playing. My sculpture is a lot different. Those are much more planned out. These sculptural pieces are usually drawn out very carefully. They're very linear in my drawings, even though I end up doing things very dimensionally, are very flat in a way, because it's just the way that I see things. The fun part is the exploratory of being able to work once you get that form up in the right proportions. And then being able to play with it, just kind of start looking at it from all angles. Right now, I'm just feeling like I want to work a little larger. I'm actually thinking of possibly outdoor pieces. When I showed in galleries, they were craft galleries. My work was always kind of a little between craft and fine art. So I always made things utilitarian. And then as I kind of got more sculptural, it's funny, I got into vessels that actually look like sculptures but opened up. And it's just the last, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, that I've actually started to make some pieces that actually I can just say, they're sculpture. There's no function to them besides the fact that they're interesting and a beautiful object. And that's led me to feel like size might be kind of fun, to go get something outside that you could walk around, that can be substantial, that you could really play with the form. I like the thought of it just coming right out of the ground, not like on a pedestal or not perched up, but that's something people can feel, touch, climb on, play with patinas and colors that are unexpected, see how the dimensions would hold up, the scale. I mean, it's so much different when they're larger. So I've tried to, use what I've learned and kind of take advantage of that right now, explore it a little deeper. I grew up not thinking there were any boundaries about what you could do with the metal, and that, I think, is a gift I got. I just was lucky to have already had it a big part of my life. So, yeah, that's it.